you ready for a new experience? To see life from another point of view? New hope, new expression, new joy. This is your radio hour. Welcome to Viewpoint with Father John.
And welcome, friends. You're tuned to KCAA Radio, 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, 106.5 FM, or you can listen from anywhere in the world at kcaaradio.com. This is Viewpoint with Father John, and I am your host, Father John Reed. By the way, you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook. And kids, guess what? I'm on Twitter now. Can you believe it? I'm Twitter-pated. Just go to the @ mark that they do. I know I'm a geek. I don't know how this works, but the @ sign at Father John Reed, R-E-I-D, the Irish spelling. Thank you. We are Irish. We're not English. Don't ever mistake that. And so you can join me there and join in the fun of Twitter. You can send me messages over any of the places. And I appreciate the fact a lot of you do stay in contact with me, particularly those of you on the other side of the world, Brazil and the Philippines and Panama. I really appreciate the fact you follow this show. So it's exciting. It's a new adventure to be on Twitter, and we'll see how long before they close down my account for something ridiculous I say. Yes, we do have a poll going on that. All of God's children are endowed with extraordinary purpose and ability. I'm on a quest to help as many as possible in fully realizing their divinely inspired potential. Disposing of false narrative and embracing genuineness inspires clarity of purpose. My role is to help overcome self-imposed limitations in realizing one's spiritual potential. And folks, I want to tell you about the place where I go for my pharmaceutical needs. It's Claremont Pharmacy here in the city of Claremont, California, on the corner of Indian Hill Boulevard and Arrow Highway. If you go too far one way or the other, you'll miss it. So don't go too far. Actually, it's a great place. I was there today to get some of my medications, and Dr. Nikki Ho is the owner of that, and she's a wonderful lady, and all the staff are just exceptional. If you want to get treated like a person with respect and with dignity and with love, this is a place to go. And when you go there, tell them that Father John said hello. They'll really treat you even nicer. And while you're in Claremont, why don't you stop at my favorite eatery, BC Cafe, also known as Kickback Jack's. Those of you watching on YouTube, you can see that friendly website front page there. I'm hungry just looking at it. Goodness gracious, I should have more than a salad for dinner. But this is a great place to eat. They have outdoor seating, so they are prepared for COVID. It's safe. The staff there are masked with face shields and everything. But more than that, the food is delicious, and you get enough food on one plate to feed a village in the Philippines, or two men and a boy in a Tongan village. And I know I'll get a little no on that one. I'm sorry about that. But great places to go. And I want to tell you about a good friend of mine, Glenn Kirshner. Now, this is not a paid advertisement. I want to be real clear about this. Glenn Kirshner was a federal prosecutor for 30 years. He served 6.5 years in the United States Army as a JAG prosecutor. He's a straight shooter, and he has a program called Justice Matters. Justice Matters. I'm sorry, I stuttered that one. I got only half a word. But Justice Matters, you can get it on YouTube. And also you can go to his webcast, and he'll tell you on YouTube how to do it. I personally support him. I give $15 a month because I like to get the private podcasts that come with it. But also on Sunday afternoons, we have a live Q&A, and I really enjoy being able to ask him questions and hear other people ask him questions. And he doesn't just give you short answers. He educates us. But more important, he gives you facts, not talking points. So if you want to know during this time where there's so much confusion and so many politics, what is real and what's not real, hang out with my friend Glenn Kirshner. He won't steer you wrong. I put my name on his. And you know me, I take credibility seriously. Speaking of serious matters, it's that time of the show we have to do this, and it always breaks my heart when I have to do this. And I'm getting more and more people tweeting to me about loved ones of theirs who have died. I did another funeral yesterday. I just can't get used to it. But the cases right now, confirmed cases of COVID in the United States. Now, this is the cases, not the deaths. The cases is 7,977,097. That was right before we went on air. I got those numbers from Johns Hopkins University. Confirmed COVID deaths. I hope you're sitting down. This is just awful. 217,754. That's a lot of families and a lot of pain. So I hope you take some people into your heart with compassion. Instead of making this something political, let's come together. Let's wear a mask. Let's save the life of someone else. It's a sign of intelligence, you know. And speak of that, one last thing before I bring our guest on, just a buyer beware kind of thing. Someone in my family is in Arrowhead Regional Medical Center, and the service there has been awful. And the medical care has been substandard in this case. So, you know, I just wanted to give you a heads up because I love you guys as my listeners that if you're going to go over there, our experiences is not good right now, and I'm hoping that they can change that. But, you know, I was in the hospital Sunday to Monday at Loma Linda, and I could tell you it was a much different experience. It wasn't COVID related. It's some neurological testing. But just the difference. I mean, the care I received was incredible. This other person, I really fear for them that they get out alive from what they're being treated, the way they're being treated. Okay, I went off on that. I didn't do as bad as I did last week when I came in here all hyped up and upset because of some things I was seeing. So I'm actually peaceful tonight. So aren't you glad I took my meds? But tonight, my guest, I'm really excited to have her. Her name is Sarah Dorrian, and she is an intuitive Reiki master practitioner / teacher. She resides in Kentucky, so you know she knows a little bit about whiskey. We Irish know where to keep the whiskey. You never hide that from us. She has her husband, and she has 3 boys at home, and so with great wonder, she still has hair. Because when you have that many hairy-legged boys in one house, I'm sure there's a lot of broken dishes and wrestling in the living room. So, Sarah, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you very much. You're right about that.
Yeah.
I have all my hair, but most of it's gray now. So.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, growing up, I was one of those hairy-legged boys, always doing all that stuff. And the line around our house is, we can't have anything nice.
That's right. That's right. And I do know about the whiskey, but that's just from being Irish. We've only lived in Kentucky for a year now. Where I'm actually from Chicago, Illinois.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I'm a little skeptical.
Much better place out here.
I'm a little skeptical. You sound sober.
I am.
Are you sure you're Irish?
I know. Well, actually, from practicing Reiki, most Reiki practitioners, I think, at least the ones I talk to, are usually sober more now, just with their practice. You kind of have to be, but I don't know. It just kind of does something to you to settle you down more.
Well, we have a saying in the priesthood: wherever you see four Irish priests, you'll find a fifth. So,
yeah.
I'm sure I'll get a letter from the diocese for that one, won't I?
Oh, no.
Anyhow, I appreciate you coming tonight. We're going to have a fun conversation. A lot of people don't understand what Reiki is. And what an intuitive is, what a master practitioner, teacher is. And so I grabbed you on Instagram and said, help me.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Like I mentioned before, I'm a new master, but I had my first Reiki session from a wonderful friend of mine for years, maybe 7 years ago. And that was probably one of the most life-changing experiences I've ever had.
Tell us about that. What was your experience? I didn't mean to cut you off, but
sure.
Well, you said it sounds very interesting to me.
Yeah. Well, I was going through a time, just a change in my life. It wasn't bad at all or anything, but my friend who lives in California, she contacted me. Now, this was distance Reiki, so it was not even in person. She offered it, and I had no idea what it was, and I asked her to explain it, and she did. Again, every practitioner explains it differently. It's actually kind of difficult to explain it, especially for those who don't really know what Reiki is.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't even remember what she told me, but I did what she asked me to. Again, all practitioners set up differently, explain differently, so you don't have to be laying down to get distance Reiki, although I do recommend it because some people can really pick up on the energy flowing through. So it is a nice experience, and that's exactly what I felt. I was not sad, mad. I was feeling so calm, but I did start crying during the session, and I was like, that is very odd. And then I even felt like I had surgery on one of my left ankle, and I remember that this was before the surgery, but I was also running at the time and having just some pain going on. So she felt that, so she was like really working at the ankle, and I had no idea. But I remember my leg jerking, like my whole foot moved, and it was just really crazy. So I remember talking to her afterwards. Now she's super intuitive, and she got everything spot on. Now not every Reiki practitioner, again, is always that intuitive. It's all different. So, but I said, what was up with the crying? She said, that's just something you had to release, and that's what some people don't understand,
Right.
It is something that's really relaxing. It's a relaxing experience, but some people it does cause purging afterwards, even throughout the week. I'll have some clients contact me and tell me, I'm really having a crying fit. I said, just let it go, let it release. It's something that could be bottled up from childhood, anything that you are not even aware of.
Sure.
So, but I remember her telling me, you're going to be a Reiki practitioner one day. And I said, I don't think so. But here I am. And then what led me to do Reiki Level 1 is to be able to help myself, and then also be able to Reiki my children and my husband, mainly my 3-year-old who has, lots of allergies to foods. And you can Reiki food, you can Reiki anything, your animals, your plants. So it really is just wonderful. I mean, it's life-changing. So, but here I am now as a master, and I said I never would be. So.
Well, they say never.
Right. So what it basically is, it's a form of energy healing. I remember my first Reiki master teacher, he said it's the hands-on healing, like what Jesus did, But Reiki came from in Japan, a man named, I call him just Master Usui. I call on him all the time, and he's the one that started that Reiki. And this was all the way back in 1922.
Wow.
So,
Frank was just a little boy then, our sound engineer. So he's the one who began this practice.
Correct. Yes.
Oh,
yes, Reiki.
Wow.
I have my notes here because, of course, you can't remember everything.
Yeah,
but,
of course.
And I always say his first name wrong, but Mikhail Usui. So he's the one that started it. He had some business issues to work out and was sent off to. He was sent off on a hike. He was instructed to hike, and that's where he did a 21-day fast and meditation. And that's when he basically started his intuition. He saw a white light moving towards him, and bubbles like with symbols in it, and he just knew this was something he was led to do and teach.
Well, being intuitive of what the next indicated step is, Frank's looking at me through the window saying, I have to go to commercial.
Oh, sure.
So my guest this evening is an intuitive, actually, Reiki master, and her name is Sarah Dorrian. And you're listening to Viewpoint with Father John, and we'll be back in 90 seconds.
The loss of a loved one is one of the most challenging experiences in a person's life. It's hard to know where to turn to make your loved one's final arrangements. Jesse Ruiz at Personal Funeral Planning in Ontario will treat you and your loved one with the respect you deserve. Jesse served in the Marine Corps in Desert Storm and understands what it takes to provide loyal, personalized, and empathetic service to those who need it most. The families of Michael Jackson, Brittany Murphy, Ed McMahon, and many others have trusted Jesse to provide them with the highest level of service and support. To work with Jesse, call 909-762-4027, 909-762-4027, or visit their website, www.4pfp.org. www.4pfp as in personalfuneralplanning.org. Jesse Ruiz and Personal Funeral Planning, veteran owned and operated, helping you plan a personal, lasting tribute for your loved one. www.4pfp.org.
It's not just a home or a car. It's the 5 hours you spend in the kitchen mastering your epic wing recipe and the 3-hour family road trip to the tailgate party. While other insurance companies just see them as bundles or combos, State Farm agent Joe Amlani sees your home and car as the time and memories you put into them. Joe understands what your things really mean to you, and he's here to help you give them the protection that they deserve. Call State Farm agent Joe Amlani in Redlands for your home and auto insurance today.
And welcome back, friends. You're tuned to KCAA Radio, 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, 106.5 FM, or you can listen from anywhere in the world, even from Kentucky at kcaaradio.com. This is Viewpoint with Father John. I am your host, Father John Reed, and just a quick shout out to the best sound man in the entire industry. How you doing, Frank? You doing well? Put down that pudding.
I'm all full of pudding. I'm doing well. How are you, Father John?
I'm well. I just want to give a quick hello and thank you for all you do for the show.
Thank you.
Brothers and sisters, this is the best man in the business. And so if you're thinking about doing a radio show, too bad. I have them. So yeah, just want to make that note in case anyone was wondering. My guest this evening is Sarah Dorrian. Am I saying your last name correctly?
Yes, you are.
Okay. You know, we Irish, we're not the, well, we're the originators of special education. So
Right.
I have my own private helmet and everything. But anyhow, so we're talking a little bit about Reiki. You talked about you had your first experience in this, and you had a profound emotional reaction to it. You weren't sad, but the tears were coming up, which is an indication there was something else going on inside you. A lot of people are surprised to find out our emotions are not just in our head. Our emotions go throughout the body, and different parts of the body are just as capable of creating weeping as the mind. Now, does Reiki go along those lines as well?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And yeah, it can actually, it's meant to do, anything. This can go on. A lot of people do come to me like for inner child work, things that, shadow work, and they call it shadow work, whatever.
Your dark side.
However you want to put it. I'm sorry?
Part of your dark side or the things that stand in our way. We use that in spiritual direction as well, that we talk about our shadow self.
It's all different wording, but pretty much means the same thing.
Sure. Now, when you have do you call them a client, a patient, customer? I'm not sure what the proper term is.
I call them clients.
Okay, very good.
That
way
I do.
That way I don't sound too ignorant when I'm trying to refer to it. Just like with my counseling clients, I call them clients. What can one imagine they would experience if they called you and says, okay, I'm interested in this. What can you do for me?
So that's, first I'll explain a little bit more about Reiki if they have any questions. There
Okay.
are some that already know about it, but like I mentioned before, all Reiki practitioners do things different, so I will explain how I do it. You know, right now I'm only doing distance because of COVID, and
Right.
I've done in person, but more with family and friends. So, but that's why Reiki is so wonderful, because you can do distance sessions on people all over the world. So I'll explain how I do it. I'll ask them if there's anything specific they want me to focus on, what they are looking to work on. Some really don't have any issues that they know of.
Now, when you talk about to work on, are you talking about physically or emotionally or both?
It can be everything, yes. Emotionally, physically, mentally, all of it.
Okay. That way we understand a little
Yep.
better with that term. Thank you.
Yes.
So go ahead. I
So,
interrupted you. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. I'm missing all my notes here anyway, so please feel free to jump in whenever.
So you
Just so I
said,
don't miss anything.
so you
So, yeah.
so you find out from them what is it they're seeking, and basically the scope of what it is they're hoping to receive from you. Is that an
Correct.
accurate statement?
Yes, that's perfect. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And like I said, some people may not really, they might just want to experience Reiki. So they might just say, I just want to see what it's about.
Okay.
And they may contact me later, because what I will do after a Reiki session, always, and most of it is typing up, because, again, people who are all over the world can't call, or they're sleeping when they receive Reiki, or it's just different, the time frame. So I will leave them a long, detailed message on what I may have picked up, what I have felt, because being an intuitive, and again, this may not be with everybody. I may not be able to pick up things from everybody, but I may pick up just something mild, like, is your right knee hurting right now by any chance, or have you had any issues? And it can be something really simple and not shocking, like, oh, wow, how did she know that? But a lot of times I'll get pain in my knee when I'm doing a session.
So you experience what they're going through.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Just want to
Again,
clarify.
not always, but yes.
So in other words, you pay attention quite a bit to what's going on inside of you as sort of a guide.
Correct.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So I'm just the channel, so I'm not the one healing. And there is something that I wanted to. This is such a nice quote. I really love it. And it's from an unknown person, but I've actually put it on my Instagram story a few times, and then I saw it on a friend's story today. And it says, a healer is not someone that you go to for healing. A healer is someone that triggers within you your own ability to heal yourself.
Oh, I like
So,
say that again.
yeah.
I like that.
Sure. A healer is not someone that you go to for healing. A healer is someone that triggers within you your own ability to heal yourself.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, I love it.
Boy,
So-
I should have that printed out and framed and put in my office. I really,
Mm-hmm.
that's something
Isn't
I
it
can
nice?
look at every day.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead and continue. That's a great place to start right there with what
Right. So,
it's about.
I'll get comments, oh, you're such a great healer, and I'll have to remind them, thank you for that wonderful compliment, but I'm just the channel. So I start, my prayer, and before I, do Reiki, and call on my guides, Master Yusui, of course, and go into almost like a meditative state. That's how I do it. And so the energy is flowing through me, out through my hands, and that's how I send it. And I usually work through each of the 7 main chakras, and I know there's some people that don't really know what that is, but it's the crown chakra on top of your head. Then you have your forehead, which is the third eye, the throat chakra, heart, and then the solar plexus right below the heart, then the sacral, like by the navel area, and then the root chakra, which is in the middle of the hips, that area. So I mainly work on those areas, again, focusing, paying attention more to certain spots that they may
Can we talk for
having
just
pain.
Can we talk for just a moment about the chakras so that people understand what each chakra does?
Sure.
Because some people may not be familiar with chakras. I have a cursory understanding of it. I know that when we talk about the lower chakra, that we talk about that's really the guttural, that people who are kind of creepy, that's the chakra
Right,
that
yeah.
they mainly use. Am I hitting that right?
Yeah, there are some people, yeah.
And so if you would explain to our listeners about the chakras and what each one represents. I know we hear about the crown and the heart and all that stuff, but a lot of people may not know what that means in your language. So I'll shut up now so you can explain it.
Sure. Do you want me to go through all of them or just start with the root?
However you want to do it.
Okay.
Because you know
Yeah,
more about this than I do.
I can go through all of them and kind of explain what their purposes are.
Fabulous. Thank you.
So, sure. When I'm doing the Reiki session, and this is how I was taught, even though, so this is why it gets confusing for some, the crown chakra is actually the seventh chakra, so the first one is the root, but we start at the crown. That's the way I was taught. There may be others that do it differently, but that's how I was taught. And that is responsible for the pineal gland nervous system, or the nerve system, and it also for mental and emotional strength and like blockages. It can be, someone who's just, let's see, I don't know how to explain it very well, but, this chart that I'm going off of, the crown is responsible in the mental, emotional areas, compassion, at oneness, and seeing self in others. So that's most of those chakras are always open for some reason for many people.
So that would be
response.
So that would be sort of the introspective one.
Yeah, right on the top of the head.
Right.
And that's where you're getting all your information. So many people that are intuitive, that's bursting, usually, along with the third eye.
There you go.
So, yeah, the third eye at the forehead. So that one is responsible for people who may be called clairvoyant, where they just, their ability to feel and see and just know their intuition is really on point. Like many psychics, you'll hear them talk about the third eye. But in the physical area, it's responsible for obviously your eyes, your pituitary, and also nervous system. So the crown and third eye usually work together well for that. And then you have your throat chakra, which would be responsible for the thyroid. So again, anyone with thyroid issues, that's a good area to work on too. It's responsible for your neck and ears. So a lot of times I'll pick up a sore throat on someone or breathing issues, and a lot of times it's just a minor cold or whatever like that, or someone having thyroid issues.
Well, my wife says she's trying to work on that chakra when she's throttling me, but
yeah, that's another one too. There's usually when that's blocked, a lot of people need to speak up.
Yeah.
And when you get that opened, I don't want their spouses calling me about it. It's like when I did my husband Reiki, and the next day he's more talkative. I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have worked on that one.
Yeah.
So.
I'm sorry I interrupted you. That's terrible.
Oh no, that's a fun one. That one always makes me laugh. Then, of course, you have the heart chakra, which is responsible for the heart and the lungs, blood pressure, all of that stuff. And that's the one that can kind of, if someone is feeling off balance, going through a breakup or just grieving, or even, like I mentioned before, crying and not knowing why, it's because there's some blockages in the heart chakra. So that's a good one. And then the solar plexus is for the stomach, the liver, small intestines, blood sugar. So someone who's diabetic, that chakra may be thrown off a little bit.
Oh.
And
I'm-
digestion.
I'm type 2
anyone.
diabetic, so that's good to know.
Yeah, it's good to work on all of those. And then it's also responsible in the mental, emotional area, mental energy, willpower, control, and certain beliefs. So anyone with like mental issues that they might be experiencing, anyone like depression, anxiety, that's a good one to work on too.
Okay.
And that's what kind of throws people off too. They always think that's odd, but you would think more in the head area, but it's actually the solar plexus, and that's where you're feeling like, your gut feeling, your intuition also.
Sure.
And that one's below the heart.
Okay.
So, like above the navel area.
Sure.
And then the sacral chakra is also for blood sugar, spleen, and for women, ovaries, the urinary tract area, the uterus, kidneys. That's what that one is responsible for. So women who are having maybe infertility issues, that's also a good one to work on.
Oh, okay.
And women who are going through menopause, anything like that, menstrual issues. Excuse me. And then that's also responsible for, in the mental, emotional strength area, is boundaries, trust. So again, maybe someone who's had a bad upbringing and maybe going through many different relationships, and they just can't trust anybody. So that's also a very good one to work on for things like that.
Very good.
And then we have the last one, which is the root chakra, and that is below the navel area. So when we're doing just on we're touching the hips when we're in person, obviously. That's just for privacy issues, respect, and that's where you go. So that is responsible for the lower sex and reproductive system, and also the rectal area, tailbone, and it also works for the legs and the feet. Although when I'm doing Reiki, I will work on the knees and feet separately also. I just think that's important. That's what I do, though. I like to go all the way down to the feet. And then that one's also responsible for money, and safety, and important for grounding, and sexuality.
Okay.
So that's what the root chakra is responsible for, and that's where I myself always have an issue with that area. I'm like, so many people do. It's just some people just really need to ground a lot more. That's usually that's the most common that I've noticed. That some people just don't know how to ground.
Well, that's a very interesting term. Now we're coming up to our next commercial break, and so I need to go to that. When we come back, if you would, I'd like for you to help our listeners understand what grounding is all about. So, sure. Brothers and sisters, you're listening to Viewpoint with Father John. My guest this evening is Sarah Dorrian, and we'll be back in 90 seconds.
The loss of a loved one is one of the most challenging experiences in a person's life. It's hard to know where to turn to make your loved one's final arrangements. Jesse Ruiz at Personal Funeral Planning in Ontario will treat you and your loved one with the respect you deserve. Jesse served in the Marine Corps in Desert Storm and understands what it takes to provide loyal, personalized, and empathetic service to those who need it most. The families of Michael Jackson, Brittany Murphy, Ed McMahon, and many others have trusted Jesse to provide them with the highest level of service and support. To work with Jesse, call 909-762-4027, 909-762-4027, or visit their website, www.4pfp.org, www.4pfp as in personalfuneralplanning.org. Jesse Ruiz and Personal Funeral Planning, veteran-owned and operated, helping you plan a personal, lasting tribute for your loved one. www.4pfp.org.
It's not just a home or a car, it's the 5 hours you spend in the kitchen mastering your epic wing recipe and the 3-hour family road trip to the tailgate party. While other insurance companies just see them as bundles or combos, State Farm agent Joe Amlani sees your home and car as the time and memories you put into them. Joe understands what your things really mean to you, and he's here to help you give them the protection that they deserve. Call State Farm agent Joe Amlani in Redlands for your home and auto insurance today.
And welcome back, friends. You are tuned to KCAA Radio, 1050 AM, 102.3 FM, 106.5 FM, or you can listen from anywhere in the world at kcaaradio.com. This is Viewpoint with Father John. I am your host, Father John Reed. Just a reminder for you to follow my friend Glenn Kirshner on his YouTube program called Justice Matters. If you really want straight information, not just talking points, but real facts, because we all have a lot of legal questions right now with all the stuff going on in our government and things surrounding us, what's real, what's not real. I know Glenn personally. He's a friend of mine, and that's why I recommend him. And those of you who know me for a while, you know integrity is everything to me. And I wouldn't be recommending him to you if I didn't personally fact check this man. I fact check him myself. He has a very high score. He really takes seriously what he's doing. And again, this is not a paid advertisement. I'm doing this because of how much I'm impressed with him and because I care enough about you that I want you to have a really legitimate resource to go to with some of your questions. And for those who support his platform, and he tells you how you can do that on the YouTube channel, usually at the end of his video. And they're little, 10 to 15 minute videos. They're just perfect. But if you go to the platform and support him, you get to be part of some personal podcasts that other people don't get to hear, and you get to be a part of that live Q&A on Zoom, and that is really cool. I really love doing that because I learn so much. I really do, and I love how gracious he is, because sometimes I ask some pretty dumb questions, and he always treats me like that's okay. He understands I sit in the back of the class, but he doesn't mind. So anyhow, my guest this evening is a very interesting young lady. Her name is Sarah Dorrian. She is a intuitive Reiki master, practitioner / teacher. And so she's telling us a little bit about Reiki. And before we went to commercial break, she used a term called grounding. And so now that we're coming back, I've asked her if after the break she could tell us a little bit about grounding so we understand what that means in terms of Reiki, so that we don't make up meanings, but we get her meaning actually. So please, Sarah, continue.
Sure. So a lot of people will hear grounding, again, from psychics, and you might just see it all over the internet now, too. But what that basically means is just connecting to Earth. So I think it's really important for people to do this, especially now with the pandemic going on. Mm-hmm. You're stuck in your house a lot more. You're tired being stuck in your house. You're aggravated. It will definitely help release a lot of those emotions, too. And this is what I tell a lot of people when they ask me what I do to ground, and it's simple. I simply, and this is, of course, weather permitting, or unless you like the cold and like to go outside in your bare feet, I just go in my bare feet out on the grass and just imagine roots from the bottom of my feet going down and connecting to Earth.
Oh, wow.
And just deep breath. You can go out and meditate during this if you'd like. And it doesn't take long. You can do it as long as you'd like. But that really clears any, what I call stagnant energy, anything stuck. That's one of the easiest techniques that I like to use. Another one, and I even do this when I'm at work, when I have downtime, is listen to, there's many, many, many YouTube videos on it, and there's grounding techniques and meditations. So if you have more time to do that, you can listen to that too, or listen to it while you're outside. So.
Oh, that's nice.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you're grounding, do you find it sometimes helpful if you go to like a national park or to a arboretum or a botanical garden or someplace that has a little stream, does any of that make a difference? Or
It would all depend on how you feel.
Okay.
So some people who live in the city may want to go to a forest reserve, mountains. For me, I have lots of trees in my backyard, so
nice.
I'm lucky.
Sure.
I have such a beautiful backyard, and but I'm also around tons of trees, mountains. I can go down by waterfalls if I wanted to. If I had time, of course. It's hard with 3 kids, but
Yeah.
I'm lucky and I have all of that around me. But many people will find if they need a really quick way to ground, they'll just simply walk outside, even if it's in the front of their house. And you don't have to do that way. You don't have to do it. You can just listen to YouTube videos or even look up different ways of grounding and find the one that's best for you.
Well, I found for me, and I haven't been able to do too much of it with COVID because, how everything has been closed, as it should be. I'm not complaining about that. But in my area, we have a botanical garden, Rancho San Antonio Garden. And in there, they have an oak tree that is over 400 years old. And sometimes when I need to ground, I just go and sit underneath that oak tree, and I actually feel energy from that tree. And some people think that's hokey, but I feel it. And I call it communing with the wisdom. And then when I'm not there, in another part of the garden are these old redwoods. And I seem to have a real connection there because just the moment I walk in between these redwoods, I feel like I've been away from home and I've now returned. And that's always the experience there. So I'll sit there for 20 minutes with my eyes closed, do nothing else. And when I leave there, my energy is so different. I'm in a whole different place than when I first arrived. And there are times I realize, I'm carrying around so much. I need to go release this into the trees and let them blow it off into the air. That's how I think of it.
That's a really nice. Yeah, that's a great way to ground.
So I just wanted the listeners to understand a little bit about what we're talking about with grounding because it is a very important term.
It is.
And if we don't ground enough, we can really suffer a lot of different ailments from that. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And I'm one that's guilty of it because I get so wrapped up in everyday life and get so busy. And once I sit and unwind, I'll realize, oh, geez, I really do need to just clear this energy some more, especially when you're doing energy work. That's very important.
Well, it goes along the lines that, who has the most difficult running car in town? It's the mechanic. He fixes everyone else's car, and his car goes, to the wayside. And, as a priest, I'm always worried about other people's spiritual conditions. And if I don't take my time for my prayer and meditation, I get drained. And
absolutely.
It could actually put me in bed sometimes from the emotional and spiritual exhaustion.
Definitely.
And I think sometimes people don't understand. We live on 3 levels at all times: physical, emotional, spiritual. And to starve any one of them is to starve all 3 of them. And so, they have to work together. And I don't mean to take over your part of the show, but it sounds like we might be on the same page here with Reiki and what I talk to people about as their spiritual director.
Yes,
would you agree
definitely.
with that?
Absolutely. And knowing how important it is to take care of yourself, put yourself first. I always say that to people, especially when they come to me for Reiki, but then I also am guilty of it too.
Sure.
I realize later, oh shoot, wait a minute. You're telling someone else to do this, but you're not doing it yourself.
Well, I learned a great practice, and here's what I do. I give them something to try, and then if it works for them, I try it. Just kidding.
Yeah, right. No, I know. Yeah, exactly. You're going to be my guinea pig, and if this works, then we're good.
That's right.
I'll give it a try.
They didn't mind me calling them guinea, but they wanted me to get rid of the pig part. But
oh, yeah, that's
now,
right.
One thing I learned through the years, and I'm just throwing it out there to see what your view is of this. I've always said that the physician and the metaphysician should work hand in hand. it shouldn't be just one or the other, but it should actually work as a team. Because when I first went into priesthood, the doctors want to do it all, and the spiritual people want to do it all exclusively. And I had to learn from my own experience that no, we should be working hand in hand, because it's not either or, it's and. And when we come together, we get the greatest results because we're not overshadowing each other. We're working as a team because we're working on the whole person, not just symptom treating. So how do you feel about that?
I'm glad you brought that up, because I actually forgot to mention that, and that's one of the reasons why I was so happy you messaged me to want to talk about Reiki, because I just think it's kind of overlooked right now. It is getting a little more popular, but again, there's a lot of people who are so skeptical of it.
Yes.
And physicians. But there are also a lot of physicians that are all for it. There are some hospitals that are welcoming it now, and I love that.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, there are. I haven't seen it in Kentucky. My aunt actually thinks there is a hospital out here that welcomes it, but it's more, volunteer basis, which is still fine. But I know there's a hospital in Illinois that does it more in the hospice area.
Sure. Well,
so
in California, a lot of massage therapists are also becoming Reiki masters, and they're finding that dovetails really well because they're already working on the person with massage therapy, and with this, it helps them to intuitively know where to go. In fact, I had a massage therapist who went back to China. I'm sorry to say, I really miss her. Her name was Mary, and I didn't even have to tell her. She just intuitively would know where I had knots, and she'd go right to it. She was never brutal. She was just perfect. Now I have someone else who's really good at it as well, but Mary was the best of the best. I'm praying for her to get back from China because I'm in pain. So yeah, I get you. I think, again, depending on where you are is how much people look at something as a science. And when I say science means that you can take a certain action and you can predict a result and you can repeat that result over and over again. That's what makes it scientific. And if you're able to do that with Reiki, that makes it scientific. Okay? We found that with meditation, we can reproduce the result. In fact, we did brain maps with Thich Nhat Hanh, one of my heroes. And doing the brain maps, when he meditated, they got to see how the brain chemistry changed and how it affected the rest of the parts of the body. And that he was able to reproduce that over and over again, which means it's scientific. Mm-hmm. So I think that's one of the things that we need to do at Reiki, because it's in Western medicine, people are so afraid of competition. Because they think it's going to be either or, and it really needs to be and, not either or.
Right, and that's another thing I wanted to mention is, of course, Reiki does not take over, like, the part of going to a doctor. Like, some people think, okay, well, now I'm going to be cured and healed. No, you still need to see your doctor.
Yes.
If they give you medications, you should be on it. I always want to mention that. So,
yes,
some people think Reiki is just going to be... and they also think it's going to be a one-time thing, too, and sometimes it's not. Usually it's not a one-time thing. You still want to get more sessions after that.
Well, I tell people that you go in for a massage, and you think that one's going to be it for the rest of your life.
Oh, yeah, I know. Nope.
So.
No, definitely not.
And people do the same thing with other spiritual practices, because I look at this as a spiritual practice as well. I hope I'm not going outside of what it's supposed to be.
Absolutely. Uh-huh.
And, people get the idea, I go to church once a week. Now, you don't have to be a churchgoer to be spiritual. In fact, in my book, Close Your Eyes So You Can See Me, I talk about being religious is us trying to show God how good we are. Being spiritual is letting God show us how good he is and enjoying the love. And they think, okay, I did this week, I'm good. And as a priest, an Eastern Orthodox priest, I have to stop for prayer and meditation a minimum of 7 times a day. And it's usually more, because I fall out of center that easily, and so it's a matter of making sure I'm getting back in there, or maybe something came up that like I've been dealing with lately. Something's been coming up that needs to be dealt with. I do my prayer, my meditation, and I talk to my therapist as well. It's not either or. So I know I'm kind of tying you up in knots here, and I don't mean to do that.
Oh, that's okay. I don't mind. That's usually how I am, too, when I start talking anyway, so don't worry about it.
Yeah. So, this is really good stuff. Now, what does a Reiki master usually charge a client? I know it's going to be different from state to state, but just kind of general.
Yeah, that's
so
one of the
people have an
hardest
idea.
things I have trying to figure that out. I found that, so in person, I found the average cost is about, because usually a session is an hour, sometimes longer because, there's consultation and all that. It's about $120, I think, maybe more.
That's
now,
reasonable.
since I'm only doing distance, I charge $40 to $50, depending.
That's reasonable.
Yeah. I was doing, and I'm probably going to do it again just because of the pandemic, more of like a donation based, just so people can take advantage of that and have an opportunity to experience it. So
Now, when you get your clientele, is it mainly word of mouth, or how do people reach out to you?
mainly word of mouth. I started on Instagram. That's usually where people contact me.
And if our
and
listeners,
that is,
well, I'm sorry, if our listeners want to reach out to you for more information or maybe work a session with you, where would they go to contact you?
they can either go to my website, which is, this is just one word, Aquarian, AQUARIAN Connections, CONNECTIONS.com. And that's my website. And, or my Instagram is Aquarian_Connections.
Okay.
And then also Facebook, but we'll just stick with Instagram or the website. That's the easiest.
Fantastic. Could you give to them one more time, so for those who didn't have a pencil handy?
Sure. It's a long one. It's Aquarian, AQUARIN. Sorry, let me start over. AQUARIAN Connections. And this is one word if you're going on the website. CONNECT, T as in Tom, IONS.com. And then if you want to find me on Instagram, it's Aquarian_Connections. And you can send me messages on Instagram if you'd like instead of the website, too. I do take DMs there.
Well, very good. Well, you've been a terrific guest this evening, and I'm really grateful to you, and I hope you get some calls from this, because it sounds like you have something that's really valuable there that people can benefit from, which is what it's really about. You know, and I try to tell my listeners every week, don't be afraid to try something new. Mm-hmm. There's more than one way. You know, we all say all roads lead to God, and each street may have a different name, but the idea is we're all trying to find our spiritual center.
Absolutely.
Which is really what God is. And, you know, just a thought for the week, you know, it's my belief that we don't need one more ounce of self-improvement. What we need is self-discovery. Because when we know who we really are, we automatically do better. It's when we're working out of the false self, or as you put it so well, the shadow self, the shadow issues, that's when we start getting in our own way and the way of other people. So my guest this evening has been Sarah Dorrian, and she is an intuitive Reiki master practitioner teacher, and she is in Kentucky, but she also does, I guess, forgive the term, telepathic stuff. So she doesn't have to be in the same room with you, but.
Correct, absolutely. Long distance.
Thank you again for being on the show tonight. And
thank you for having me.
For the rest of you, if no one's told you this week that they love you, let me be the first, and we'll be back next week. God bless.
KCAA Loma Linda. Listen on 1050 AM, 102.